So Italy against Australia. Don't worry, guys. I did see this one. Sorry, the video is a day later than it should be. Yeah, I was just a bit crook on Friday and Saturday here in New Zealand. The game was on, I think, at 3 o'clock in the morning, New Zealand time. On Sunday, when I was just starting to feel a bit better, I decided to opt for sleep. But I did watch it on Sunday evening over here. I had heard the result, which was a pity. I try to avoid the results when I can. So I knew the result going into it. Just had to see how it all panned out. So I saw that. And yeah, 26 points to 7 is how it panned out. So a decent win to the Wallabies. I don't think it's one that the media over in Australia is kind of writing home about as anything too magnificent. And I wouldn't have thought the Italian media would be too disappointed by it, because they certainly showed a fair bit in this game as well. So a decent game overall. I think defensively, perhaps more than offensively at times. Marred a bit by a bit of controversy, which is disappointing. What is it with the French referees who seem to be at the center of the controversies? Is it just me, or is it often centered around French referees? Just seems to be a bit of a theme. But yeah, the game panned out. Could have been a try to stain early on for Italy. Hayward had a great little return. I mean, Australia was struggling to get out of their own territory. Italy were piling on a bit of pressure early. And then Hayward, just with this massive line break, Stain got the ball towards the corner, but he had just had a foot in touch. That was a TMO decision that I think was pretty fair. It was pretty clear that it was not a try, so that was all good. Tamua missed the penalty. And then there was a bit of a contentious one. Australia with a line-out move. Gordon gets the ball, and his opposite number seems to read the play, intercept the pass, and go in for a try. He's deemed to be offside. It seems to be a bit, at my first glance, thought it was all right, but I heard one of the New Zealand shows which recapped the same game last night as I was actually watching the full version. There was a highlights package on next to me, so I kind of had it coming in both ears. And they said correctly adjudged offside. So I'm going to go with what the experts said. I thought it was kind of touch and go, but I was like, ooh, Aussie dodged a bullet there. Because, yeah, my first sighting of it, I'll defer to the experts, of course, but initially I thought it looked all right. So Italy denied a try there, and not long after, around the half an hour mark, Korobedi goes in for his first of 2 tries from a Karevi break. Karevi, I think, is that guy to get a bit of go-forward ball, which the Aussies needed, because this was a game where neither of the attacks was all that impressive. As I said, it was defensive efforts kind of ruling the roost. But yeah, Korobedi got his try from Karevi's break. Even Pocock was in a supporting run, which is pretty amazing for him. 7-0 to the Australians, and then 5 minutes later, Korobedi gets his second one. It's Korobedi to Ashley Cooper to Korobedi again. He goes in, makes it 14-0. And Australia looking pretty comfortable at 14-0, to be fair. And then, yeah, second half, they score not long after. Tupou gets his try. 44 minutes. Again, it's a TMO one. He looks to be a bit of kind of shepherding. A tackler kind of blocked the commentator who I had. Interestingly, Aussie fans can tell me, was Fox Sports broadcasting this game? Because my feed was just a single dude commentating on his own, total neutral guy. I'm assuming he commentates Pro 14 because he was really familiar with all the Italian players, probably more so than the Australian players, kind of the opposite for me. But yeah, he was convinced that it was it shouldn't have been a try. I guess Tupou was kind of going backwards when he was shepherding, so through the obstruction, he was kind of moving away from the Italian try line, so it's not like he was gaining any ground, but he still used the man kind of as a shield. I don't know. It's just another one of those seemingly 50-50 calls that went the Aussies' way, and the Italians probably a bit salty about that. Yeah, I can kind of understand how they feel, to be fair, because you hope in a game, at least if you're going to get one 50-50, then the other team gets the other one, kind of, that it spreads evenly. But this one just seemed to be one of those ones where nothing could go the Italians' way, just as a neutral kind of watching that for me. But yeah, Tupou was remarkably graceful on his feet once he actually kind of started going forward and managed to bust through for a try. That's kind of what he's known for. 21-0. But then just when you think the Italians are out of it, Bellini gets his try, a great little intercept run on 46 minutes, so pretty much straight after Tupou's try to put Italy back in the hunt. And it's 21 points to 7, but that's the only points the Italians will get in the game. Theo gets a yellow card in the 58th minute for a deliberate knock on. And then there's a whole lot of attacking and defense for long periods and no scoring. But Guinea gets his try right towards the end, and the conversion gets missed. That's pretty much game. Guinea, a smart little play to trick everybody into thinking that the ball is going to go out wide. So I guess that's encouraging, if nothing else. But yeah, as I said, like Italy were in this game for large periods. As I said early on, Australia were really struggling for territory, and the attack was just not firing, perhaps on both sides at times. Like Coleman knocked it on a few meters out under pressure. The Italian defense was putting on a lot of pressure. Pocock got a turnover when the Italians were on attack. The Italians were only like 5 meters out, and then there's one man is going to save the day for Australia. It's Pocock, and he was there to get a turnover. So other times that probably would have been a try towards the Italians if you'd given them a couple more phases. Campagnaro disrupted an Australian offload. Like he was managed to get in the way and steal the ball from memory. So that probably saved the try. So key guys at key moments were just stifling the other teams, which was very much the story of this game. Interestingly, the Aussie scrum, which has again not been that great this year, was also under pressure here from the Italians. The Italian scrum was doing a pretty good job. Aussie scrum was penalised several times. This was another game that had a seemingly deliberate knockdown, similar to the South Africa and Scotland game, but this one not result in a card. I'm not talking about the CO one. I'm talking about another one. I forget who the player was, but I just made a note of it because it seemed to be slightly inconsistent. Both sides missed place kicks, or kicks from hand, sorry, for touch. One was out on the full, one didn't meet touch. So poor little execution things at times, kind of costly for both teams. But as I said, the Australian defence, sometimes the Italian execution when the pressure was on was a bit costly, especially in that yellow card period when the Aussies probably should have been a bit more under the pump than they were. But then again, the Australian attack, like Folau got a line break, and Folau's never been a real, I think it was an intercept. He got an intercept and just burst down the field. He's never been that quick. Like the commentator was surprised that he got caught. And as soon as Folau got the ball, I thought he's going to be lucky to make the line because Folau's never been an out-and-out gas player, which is probably why he's still very good at his age because he doesn't just rely on his gas. His skill is running the right lines, being able to move his body in a way that makes him very difficult to tackle and able to get offloads away, but running correct lines. So for him to just out and out run the length of the field to score was probably not going to happen, and sure enough, it didn't. But then they could have got the offload plays away, but Karevi ended up knocking it on. So yeah, it was just another example of a chance. Both sides had them not being able to execute, but both teams really scrambling for defence. I guess for the Aussies, it was good to see Adam Cooper back. He didn't look too out of touch for a guy who's coming back after all those years. If you're an Australian fan, you've got to look at the fact that you've conceded 7 points to Italy, and 9 points to Wales in 2 games. That's not a sexy thing to be like the defensive team, and they conceded a lot of points to the All Blacks when they played them. But yeah, that's something to feel good about, I guess. The fact that you're at the moment anyway fairly defensively solid, because not many teams would be able to do that. Hooper hit Campagnaro towards the end pretty hard, and it showed a bit of commitment. So the Aussie guys, despite having a pretty poor season, definitely haven't given up on things. So that's a bit of dedication, which was good from the boys. But yeah, Gordon on his debut, he was alright, but at times kind of outshone by the Italian number 9. He was hassling him a fair bit, and he was stripped at one point, I think again by his opposite number. I forget his name, something Dini. But yeah, unlucky for the Italians. On another day, I feel like some of these TMO decisions could have gone their way. But the Australians, they beat the predicted points margin by 2 points. So I know a lot of the media there is not giving them that much credit, but I think to go into Italy these days, I mean, we'll find out next week when the All Blacks go, and they could have a point to prove. But I think to go in and get a result like that is still nothing to put your heads down about. I mean, hopefully it's a rallying point for the Aussies, and for the Italians, I hope they are fired up next week for the All Blacks, because that should be a massive, massive game. I hope their defence can be as tenacious as it was at points in this week, because it'll need to be. If they could just get their attack a little bit sharper, hey man, the All Blacks are a wounded beast. You never know, they might be able to cause them some problems. Unlikely. I think the bookies are going to have the All Blacks as pretty strong favourites, but I want to see a good fight from the Italians in that one. You guys let me know your thoughts on this game. I'll probably have the Dream Team video out tomorrow, so a day later than normal. It'll be Tuesday here in New Zealand. But yeah, as I said, you guys let me know your thoughts on this game, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.